Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Redesign Your Life Today. I'm your host, Daniel Kobryner, and I'm a mental fitness coach. And this podcast, it's about having a conversation with guests who have had some transformations in their lives, who really want to share their stories and what they learned. And it's really about helping each other realizing that in life, change is possible at every moment of life. It's even if the situations might be look difficult, it's never too late. It's always possible at all levels, and there's always hope. So today, I've got the immense pleasure to have a very special guest. It's Leanna DeBellevue.
Yes.
I'm French, so in French it's a double vue. So I'm just saying. And so she's a dynamic international speaker, trailblazing founder of the double view global marketing agency. And she's the co-author of an Amazon International bestseller. With over 15 years at the helm of her award-winning agency, celebrated as the 2025 Business of the Year by the Gilbert Chamber and the 2024 Best Marketing Agency in the East Valley. Leanna is passionate about empowering business owners to find clarity and conquer their challenges through strategic thinking. Leanna now helps business owners identify and eliminate blind spots within their business. Having inspired thousands of people across 13 countries, Leanna captivates her audiences with powerful insights on success and cutting-edge social media strategies. Her expertise has been featured in HuffPost, and she's a sought-after guest on popular podcasts. As a former member of the Forbes magazine, she was honored with an induction into Who's Who in America by the Marquis Publication Board in 2023. What a pedigree, and so happy to have you with us today, Leanna.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, so, you know, there's so much here in your story, and I'd like to us to guide us through. Now you are a renowned international speaker. What's been your kind of life through and career? How did you get to where you are now, Leanna?
No, that's a great question. I get asked that quite a bit. And sometimes I don't even believe the journey myself, right? If I didn't live it, I would be very surprised that I am where I am today. Growing up, I always thought I was going to be a doctor. I
Mhm.
wanted to be a pediatrician my whole life. And I'm sure, as you and most of your listeners can identify, life doesn't always go as planned, right?
Mm.
So some life happened to me, and I ended up being a stay-at-home mom to two kids until I was about 30 years old. I didn't finish college. There were so many components that I just um, kind of let life guide me versus me guiding my life. And 30 was a big wake-up call for me. I
Mhm.
was like, this is not, I have the utmost respect for stay-at-home moms, but it just was not what I felt like I was being called to do, led to do. Um, so I went back to school, and I worked for a chiropractor. He pulled me into the marketing space. I didn't even know what marketing was, but I was working for him, and he said, I think you have what it takes to do marketing. I said, okay. Um, then he called me in his office again and said, I think you need to go do this on your own. And I was
Mhm.
like, uh, I had become very comfortable and confident with a paycheck every 2 weeks. I really had no idea what it meant to be a business owner. He said, go out and try it. You'll be fine. But if you ever need a safe place to land, you can come back. So
Mhm.
I started my agency in 2010 and had no idea. I had done honestly zero research. I didn't know what the failure or success rate for businesses was. I didn't know um, about creating a foundation built, on all of these components of having a great website and social media. I didn't do any of those things. I just went out and started talking to people and grew the business significantly in about 6 months. I went from zero to about six figures. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have really any expectations of what this was. I just knew that I was a mom and I needed to feed my kids, and I still wanted to go to their games and their practices and do all of the things, right? So, um, business ownership provided me that kind of arena. I would get up before they got up for school, and I'd probably got up at, I don't know, between 4 and 5 every day, and worked till they got up at 7, got them off to school. Then from 7 to 2, I would work the business. 2 o'clock, I was back in mom mode. So um, the business grew and continued to grow. And in August of this year, we sold the business,
Mm-hmm.
um, sold the agency. It just wasn't a great fit for me anymore. Um, I knew that there needed to be so many changes and revamps with AI coming in and with all of the new technology that we had access to. And everyone looked at me like I was crazy because, as you mentioned, we won Business of the Year, we won Best of East Valley. I had an amazing team. All of the cylinders were finally firing. And I knew in that moment it was time to let it go. So we decided to sell. And now I want to help other business owners avoid some of the pitfalls that I fell into. I think
Mm-hmm.
part of my success is not knowing kind of the expectations of how many businesses fail in the first few years and not getting stuck in all of the I have to do these things to be successful. A lot of it was true connection, showing up authentically, um, being vulnerable, being scared and doing it anyways. And I see so many people who are just amazing people trying to do great things and they're getting in their own way, right? So I've I've taken the next leap of faith and to start to dive more deeper into consulting. So
Well, thank you so much for sharing. This is a beautiful story. I mean, you said from 2010 where you decided, okay, now I've got to do something else. And now we are at 15 years afterwards, and you built this very successful agency and awards. And you decided now, okay, yeah, I've done that. I'm sure you had a lot of satisfaction, but what's the next chapter in my life? How can
right.
I how can I help others the best way I can?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that there really is a responsibility to all of those that are finding success to look back and see who's 2 or 3 steps behind me that I can help, right? And
Hmm.
in turn, with the expectation that they turn around and help people that are 2 or 3 steps behind them, right? I think that that's how we truly all grow. And, it's very easy to get comfortable. And I think we also have to learn to embrace being uncomfortable because that's where the beauty of life happens, really and truly.
Absolutely, exactly. I mean, we know that fears, we all have fears. I mean, fears is unavoidable. It's just that some people decide not to confront these fears, just to stay in their comfort zone. And we know that unfortunately, when if we do what we've always done, we're going to get what we always get. Einstein said that it's very easy. Now, when we embrace these fears, when we look at it as an opportunity, we know actually our biggest growth is just on the other side of our biggest fear.
Yes, absolutely. Which is terrifying and satisfying at the same time, right? It's terrifying because you don't want to go through unknown spaces, but it's also very satisfying knowing that it's not that far away and that the ability to get there is really based internally. I don't have to worry about external factors. I have to worry about being the best version of myself to get to that next place.
Yes, thank you so much for, yeah, for outlining this. And before you use some words again, which resonate very much with me, you use the words authenticity and you use the word vulnerability, right? And now we talk about exactly, it's about inside, it's about being who we are, exactly who we are, accepting ourselves with our imperfections as well. It's absolutely fine. And it's only at that moment when we can do that, that we can accept others the way they are. And you see, just reflecting on perhaps these last years of your, you had awards, and it's great and it's beautiful, but some people, they identify themselves by external factors, external validations. It's, and very much it's linked to ego. And for me, when we learn how to put our egos on the side, of course, it's very nice to be recognized, and we can be very grateful. But is it what defines ourselves?
Yeah,
This is the thing.
yes. And I didn't think that I held so much of my identity in the business
Mhm.
until I would go to meetings, and so naturally people go, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'm so used to just saying I own a digital marketing agency. So for me to have to transform that and relearn kind of what it is that I say I do,
Mhm.
um, I just hadn't realized how much DeBellevue Global Marketing Agency was a
Mhm.
part of me and how much I was a part of it. So it has been a little um, humbling, especially to hear the new owners say that they're the owners or call my team their team, right? It was a little shocking at first when I realized I couldn't claim that, but it also helped me understand that it probably was a little unhealthy to have so much of my identity tied into that, right? Um, and that was an experience I was not prepared for at all. I'll do
No,
it better next time.
exactly. You are not, but you see, very interestingly, again, you've done it several times in your life. You took another leap of faith, like when you started again studying and with this chiropractor and all that. It's like sometimes we feel this internally, don't we? It's like there's a calling that we are in peace. We're in peace with ourselves and we've accomplished things. And but now it's time for something different, perhaps to give back to society as well, in a way. Does it resonate with you?
Yes, 1000%. I think my faith is very important to me. And there's a verse that says, "To whom much is given, much is expected." And that is something that I have built my life on. I think that I am blessed beyond measure. Just, I mean, as simple as I've got a roof and I've got clean water and food and things that not everyone has, right?
Mhm.
And so because I do feel that so much has been given to me, I do I think that that was the box that remained unchecked. Awards, check, a financial stability, check, a great
Mhm.
team, check, like so many things. But the one thing that was truly missing was that aspect of giving back and
Mhm.
sharing. I've got, 15 years of knowledge in my head of business ownership, and not perfect by any means. That said, I probably have an idea somewhat of how to run a business, right? Because I made it that long. And so it was that internal piece that got disrupted, saying, how are you going to use this to
Mhm.
serve others, to give back to others, right? And that became very uncomfortable, which led me to make that next move.
Wow. This is really beautiful. And Leanne, you said that, Leanna, you work, if I'm correct, you said in 13 different countries. And so have you traveled to these places, or was it on Zoom? And tell us a little bit about your now journey as an international speaker.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, you said you were in London. London
Yes.
is the first place that I ever spoke internationally.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was, I was asked to be on a panel of women entrepreneurs. A lot of our speaking engagements were supposed to be in person in 2020. And between 2020 and 2022, that became on Zoom for a
Mhm.
lot of different countries, respecting everyone's, kind of protocols and things like that. So France and London were in person. Everywhere else has been on online, virtually, and then translated into the language, which I think poses its own type of beauty, because had I gone there, I only speak one language, right? Our agency, can operate in a variety of languages. I only speak one. So I think
Mhm.
had I been there in person, that translation would not have been available to people, and I don't know if the message would have resonated. So I was very bummed at the time that I wasn't able to go to some of these countries. And now I understand maybe kind of the reasoning behind it. I think it was a little bit more impactful that people heard it in their native tongues. I am looking to get back to speaking in the next year or so, and we'll see how that goes. But London was my first international speaking, and I think it will always hold a place in my heart as one of my favorite places on the planet because of that.
Very nice. Very nice to hear that. And you see, in the introduction, I talked about you helping entrepreneurs, obviously with the strategic thinking and uncovering their blind spots. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on that? I like this idea of blind spots.
Yeah. Yeah, it kind of goes back to, and I used to hate the saying, but I've learned to really embrace it. You don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
I thought, duh, right? Like that seems so easy. But there's so many times as an entrepreneur, you are taking that leap of faith. But there's this sudden expectation that you understand accounting and you can run your books. You understand marketing and you can execute a strategy. You understand how to write contracts, right? Like, so we wear so many hats, um, that, and if you're just your business is plumbing, you're a master plumber, pipes like nobody else. No one ever teaches you all the other components, right? And you have all of these have to. To be successful, you have to have a website. To be successful, you have to, do your taxes correctly, whatever that is, right? And so often as entrepreneurs, we get overwhelmed because we don't know how to do all of the things. So we just maybe kind of ignore some areas, and we don't look into really diving deeper into, this feels hard. How do I make it easier? Sometimes that means you outsource it. We
Mhm.
have an accountant who is great at numbers, not my forte, right? So learning how to identify, here's the list of everything that we are expected to do. What areas are uncomfortable for you? What areas are uncomfortable for you because you have zero idea? And what areas are uncomfortable just because you're interested in it, but you don't have enough time to do it, right? Things like that. And really being able to identify for them what foundations are not being laid and how do we fix that, right?
Mhm.
Um, and what do you not know? And just because you know it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to dive deep into it. You need to know enough, I say, kind of to be dangerous, right?
Mhm.
Figure out what is worth outsourcing, what's worth taking the time to learn about, what is something maybe someone on your team is passionate about doing that you can hand off to them, and really delegating. So many times people think that I can't afford a VA, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. Okay, but what is it costing you to not have that, right? Entrepreneurs, I think, we're notorious for saying, oh, if I do it for myself, if I do it myself, it's free. Is it though? Right? Unless you pay yourself nothing, which I think there's a lot of us who are at that stage, but we don't want to be at that stage forever, right? How do you find value in giving that piece away in order for you to do things that move the needle forward, that does get that revenue flowing, right?
Yeah.
So many times people don't know what to look at, and we just lay it out on the table, right?
Exactly. And thank you for, for outlining that. because it's particularly as solopreneurs, when we start, it's like we do it all because there's nobody else. But
Yeah.
afterwards, it's about where can our time be best used? What are our unique skills? And what can we delegate? As you said, sometimes we of course, we have these little paradigms in our heads. If I don't do it, it's not going to be well done, and things. And now it's about having the trust. It's about, there's these little voices. Oh, I'm too much controlling. Okay, perhaps let go a little bit, but train the person and see how it goes. And afterwards, you can be comfortable and delegate more. It's this because we've heard that a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs, they said that they were not the best at everything, but what the unique skill was to find the right people in each area of the business who were better than them in that area and who would help growing the business.
Yes, 100%. That's so well said. Because if you can operate in your area of brilliance, right? If you can spend your time having conversations with people that are going to um, really start a ripple effect with your listeners, right? That's so much better than you taking the time to figure out, do I like on this social media post, should it be a yellow title or a red title or a green, right? And it allows people to work in their area of brilliance. Where's your area of brilliance? How can we get you to spend the most time in it, right? And then if you do outsource to the right person, the right professional, they're working in their area of brilliance, right? To me, the worst thing you could ask me to do is look at a spreadsheet. I hate that. Like that's just not my that's not my thing, right?
Mhm,
My
mhm.
husband, that is like he's like, "Oh, I made a spreadsheet." And he gets so excited and it lights him up. And I'm like, "Ooh, if I let him do what lights him up, that lets me do what lights me up." And it's a beautiful relationship. So if you look at that with all aspects of business,
Mhm.
right? I think that's where the trajectory of my business changed exponentially is when I learned to let go. Like you said, in our heads, no one knows our business like us. No one can do it better like than us. No one can do it the way that we want it done. But I'm going to challenge that in maybe we don't know the best way for it to be done. And when we allow someone else to do that, it kind of changes the road that we're on. I don't like to say a control freak. I like to say a control enthusiast. I get very excited about having control. But over the last few years, I realized that that was my blind spot. Me thinking I could do it all was actually the biggest bottleneck in our business. I got in the way. I hired brilliant people to do brilliant things, and then I wanted it to all funnel through me. And there's only so many hours in a day, right? And I couldn't do it all.
Exactly. And you see, and I'm a mental fitness coach, so right. So what I help people uncovering the saboteurs, these little voices which running on autopilot, which hold them from living the best life they can, and to change them into the sage mode where they get clarity, confidence. And I'm mentioning about this because you see, the main saboteur is the judge, right? It's a master saboteur. This comes from positive intelligence, where okay, we judge ourselves, and sometimes we are tough with ourselves. And then we judge others, oh, he's not bad, and this and that. And then we judge circumstances. But this master saboteur has accomplices. One, for instance, is the perfectionist, the stickler. Want to do everything perfect. And it used to be me. So it's why I'm mentioning it. And I thought it's great. But you know what? I wasted so much time and energy for nothing. This little thing in the presentation, nobody cared, but it was like some people are in control, for instance. And you see that all these saboteurs, they come from your very young age. It's like it's a strength which we develop in our survival mode to cope with our, parents. As babies, you are completely defenseless. So what happens is you learned, sometimes as a child, you are controlled by parents. And subconsciously you said never again. And then it's why you start controlling people. Or for instance, some people are just victims. Oh, it's things happen to me always, life terrible. okay, of course, life happens, but if we give power away to others people, then, we can't do anything. So I mentioned that because it's, particularly when you talk about the controller, yeah, it's, it comes from a good point. We want things well done, sure. And we were told, as a child, oh, it was really good. But then when we go there, we start micromanaging. We start and basically we start removing the creativity and the motivation from people working with us as well. Because I said, look, you asked me, but you do it yourself. So okay, I'll let you do it. You see? So we learned that. And you see this, you mentioned one expression which is very dear to me, and I learned a lot. It's about letting go. It's about letting go. It's like now what I would, tell people, particularly with regard with perfectionism, is like, you've got say 80% is already there. Go, start, do. Because actually it's by doing, it's by starting, it's by taking action that you're going to get clarity and confidence. I thought it was the other way around, but no, it's really doing. And when you start doing, and when you have faith, this is the other important things you mentioned. Of course, this is where things starts coming and things start unfolding beautifully, because of course, do we make mistakes? It happens. But actually, a mistake, actually failure doesn't exist. It's experience in life. And okay, we have an experience which doesn't bring us the outcome we wanted, and it's absolutely fine, but at least we try. So what's the next course of action? And this is how, by learning, by doing more, we really get confidence.
Yes. When I speak on having the the confidence to fail, right? So many times, people are afraid, if I fail, what are they going to think? I'm learning as I'm getting older, people aren't thinking about me as much as I think I'm thinking about myself, right? If I fail, I look at that now as a blessing to a redirection. I was going down the path, it wasn't the right path. I got redirected. Okay, now let me start. Now I got down this path. Oh, wow, look at the outcome here, right? And having the courage to fail is something that is so, I think, counterintuitive, because we are expected to succeed, right? And so often people look at success and they think that it was just straight, right? And it's so many peaks and valleys, and you climb one mountain, you get to the top, and then you realize you're really at the bottom of a hill. You have a much bigger mountain, right? And you start that peaks and valleys again. And I think, um, unfortunately, social media only shows the highlight reels for so many people, right? But if you talk to true business owners, they're going to tell you, no, this is my story, right? Just when I was almost where I thought I wanted to be, and then I started back at zero. Or I got to where I thought I wanted to be and it wasn't what I thought, right? And
Exactly. And you see, if what happens is, if people don't try anything, they're not going to go anywhere. So it's really it's a learning curve. I mean, let's think of somebody like Thomas Edison. He tried 10,000 times, 10,000 experience before having this light bulb working for the first time. And and his workshop burned twice, and right, he went again. And thanks to him, we have electricity now. You see, so when even the Wright brothers, when they invented the first aeroplanes, I mean, there were people dealing with bicycles, but they had this idea in their mind, I'm going to do that. And everybody says, but you're crazy, it's not possible. Okay, and then, with determination, when you see the interesting thing, for everybody listening, and now for me, it's kind of a given, is that whenever you can imagine something, whenever it exists in a reality. And for me, we live in a multiverse, multiple number of universes. And you see, you talked about before redirecting, the way. And for me, it's in life the same thing. There's a GPS. We are meant to go a certain way, but we have free will. We
yeah,
decide or we don't. But what happens is, there's this superior power always bringing us back to the right path, you know, even if we go astray, it doesn't matter, we're going back. And this is how life evolves.
And if you have that confidence that a higher power will always bring you back, you're not afraid to go down the wrong road. Let me try it. If it's not right, I'll get put back on the right path somehow, right? And
Exactly.
who knows who you meet down that wrong road that helps you get back to the right road. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You see, absolutely. See, I come from a background which I think my father was an engineer. It was very down to earth, grounded. It was not at all spiritual or religious. It was like, right? And you know, when I grew up, it was like it was very much in my head. You know, it's about this, it's about thinking, logic, and so and I'm very analytical and all that. So, but you see, what I realized is that now, I mean, I was much too much in my head, and now I learned to really follow my intuition and to follow my heart. And this is really what changed. You know, when you said letting go, and everybody who is listening there, life is not about doing, life is about being. Be who you are, be your own. And when you are who you are, this is when miracles unfolds because this is a being in alignment with yourself. And when we align with our deepest core values, this is where, you know, the universe matches it with everything which vibrates at a similar level as we do.
Yes. How do we get everyone to understand that? Because the second you understand it, the game changes. And like you said, there's a piece that's just it it's just beautiful, right? Like there's no more fear when you really have that understanding that when you are yourself and you do show up authentically, that's when you make the biggest change.
Yeah, exactly. You see, this is, and you know, even the way I'm talking now, Leanna, I mean, 6 years ago, perhaps I would have laughed, you know, kind of smiled at myself talking like this. But again, I change it. You see, when, you know, when there is this, there is you know, the pyramid of needs from
Yes,
Maslow, you know, with the
that's
basic needs and, you know, and then when you go to the highest needs, it's about as well in self-realization, you know, and things. But what does it mean? And you know, and I heard some people saying, well, actually, it's really about authenticity. It's when you're at that level, you know, it's like you are who you are, and what other people think doesn't matter in a way. You know, it's like but it's really when you are aligned with yourself, you just go and you take your power back, and this is how you navigate for life. And then it's, of course, there are sometimes hiccups, but when we do it really without relying on others to do that, this is where we can give the best of ourselves.
yes, 100%. That's I feel like that's it. That's the secret. Everyone always wants to know what is the secret? How do you get successful? How do you have a, an exceptional marriage? How do you have a great family? Whatever the thing is that these people are trying to get to, it all really boils down to that just a faith that when you show up as yourself, all the puzzle pieces fall into place. Again, not perfectly, doesn't mean you don't have to try things 3, 4, 10,000 times, but eventually, when all is said and done, it's the perfect journey.
Exactly. And I have a question for you, Liana, because what's the importance of the word communication in business and in life generally? What, you know, for people to understand that?
Yeah. I think it's one of the biggest ways you can impact others. Sharing your story,
Mhm.
actively listening to theirs, finding that I'm not sure how it is in London right now, but in the US, it is very, our country feels very politically divided.
Oh, I'm very aware of that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much um, ground that's middle ground that no one wants to step into, right?
Mm.
Unfortunately. But I think if you can have conversations and communicate with people, I think as humans, we very quickly realize that we're more alike than we are different,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you can find those commonalities through communicating, you really learn to respect others, respect their journey, and give grace, right? So I think without communication, right now, I think in our society in general, communication is being used as as a divisive tool.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it can also be used as a healing tool. And it's our responsibility to start communicating in a way that helps rather than hurts.
Thank you so much. Yes, and you see, you said a word which you use right away in your reply. It's active listening, deeply listening to others, because sometimes we just want to, convince people, about our ideas, about things, but what about when we take, a pause, and when we take the time to really be willing to understand others? Where are they coming from? These ideas, even they're not okay, ours, but what's the origin? And when we take this time and we listen without any preconceived ideas, without the willingness to respond to this, no, just put our ego on the side and just to understand people.
Yeah.
For me, it's one of the biggest things. And I had to learn, to listen more, so because I'm a salesperson as well originally. So, and it's when we give others the opportunity to express themselves vulnerably, without the fear of being judged, of being criticized, of being given unsolicited advice, it means that others, for the first time, sometimes they will feel heard, they will feel seen, they will feel understood. And then all of a sudden, the relationships changes completely. It's like, wow, this person, and this is valid professionally and privately.
Yes. Yeah. And I think hearing someone is the best gift you can give someone to make them feel seen and heard. It doesn't mean you're going to change your mind. It doesn't mean that you're
No,
going
no,
to
no.
suddenly, become someone different. But I think that that is a gift that we can give each other,
Mhm.
and it doesn't cost anything, but yet it's priceless. Right?
Exactly. It's about, yeah. It helps people feel good. And again, when we do it, it's always very important without expectations. It's really we do it because we feel like doing that. And it's see, this is where I was asking the question as well, because in my experience as well, the more we do it, first we start at with a certain layer. No, we don't give away a lot of ourselves because we were judged in the past, we were burned. But when you see that you can do this with someone and oh, okay. You can see that something's coming as well. It's always for us to start, not to wait other people to do it. But then sometimes you can go a little deeper and you can go a little deeper. And this is where, wow, people really, they feel, yeah, they feel understood. They feel alive again. And this is when we can help others. And it's, as you said, it's easy. It doesn't need a lot. It's just this listening ability.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah. So, you see, marketing is a big term. Obviously, it's and I heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, what's more important? Is it marketing or sales?" Right? I'm sure you've heard it many times. So, first of all, I mean, Leanne, just quickly, can you define for our listeners what's in your book? Marketing and sales, and what's the link or the support? I mean, between both.
Yeah. No, great question. To me,
Mhm.
marketing is um, letting people know that you can provide a solution for whatever their need is.
Okay.
Marketing is building trust, it's establishing credibility. I genuinely believe that people will not buy from you until they know, like, and trust you,
Mhm.
right? Until they know how much you care, they don't care how much you know, right? So showing what benefit they they will receive from working with you,
Yes.
making it all about the person on the other side. Marketing is about telling a story, telling your story, and what sets you apart from your competition, right? But at the end of the day, marketing is creating a relationship. It's starting the relationship, right?
Mhm.
And sale obviously is the exchange of currency, right? Whether that's whatever you're, kind of, for 99% of business owners, obviously it's monetary, right? But
Mhm.
the sale to me means that you told a compelling story. You built the trust, they resonated with your services, um, and it means that you're building a relationship that can continue on, right? So that's how we look at it. In full disclosure, I said, I didn't have my college degree when I turned 30. I now have a master's in psychology. So I,
Mhm.
I see marketing a little bit differently than most, I think. Everyone said, why wouldn't you get your master's in marketing? Well, think about what psychology is. Psychology is understanding people. And if I want people to do something, right, which at the end of the day is to sell, I probably need to understand how and why they think the way that they do, right?
Exactly.
So
Uh-huh.
that to me is marketing and sales.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And you see, the words which came up a lot was about trust, about caring for others. It's about others. It's not about us. I mean, marketing, you said as well, to understand the others, what their needs are, and then afterwards build this relationship and really be willing to explore. Say the same thing. I mean, it's not about us wanting to sell a service. It's about us understanding the needs of our customers. What do they need? How can we help them? And yeah, people as well, people buy from people, like in marketing, I mean, it's really the connection which will make things work.
And I can almost guarantee you 90% of the people that come to me and say my marketing isn't working is because they are trying to tell a story that doesn't matter to others. They're trying to tell their story.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
not weaving in who it is that they're talking to and trying to have a conversation. Conversation is two ways, right? Here, I understand that this is probably your pain point as a potential customer. Let me talk to you about that. You must be overwhelmed or tired or frustrated. Here's how I can solve that for you, right? Most of the time when marketing is falling flat, it's because they're telling a one-sided story. They're
Hmm.
telling their side of the story. You have to figure out how to tell a story that makes people feel seen and heard, right? And
Exactly. Yeah.
that's the secret to marketing. I think people can do their own marketing all day long if they learn how to have a two-sided conversation in the stuff that they're putting out.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And I guess as well that, I mean, in marketing, and see, when we mentioned the word authenticity several times there, and people talk a lot about branding. Right? So, and perhaps I just tell you what my idea there, and if it's all right, but for me, branding, it's about aligning, your business with with your values, with who you are, with your vision, and making sure that everything is consistent. Could be with the message, could be, even with the colors, everything has to be aligned so that it's people really resonate with what you want to convey as a business. Am I kind of in the good direction saying that?
Yes, absolutely. I say that branding to me is like the outfit you're choosing to wear.
Mm,
What are you presenting to your audience? Are you very professional and polished? Are you more casual? Are you showing up in a tuxedo or are you showing up in a suit? Or are you
mm,
showing up in jeans and a t-shirt,
mm,
right? So your branding, a lot of times when people have branding that's very formal and they show up very informal, there's a misalignment there. And people feel like, man, I thought I was going to like this, but it doesn't feel right, right? It's because the branding isn't setting an expectation, right? Like, for me personally, there's been several times where I'll see like a restaurant advertised and I'm like, oh, I've got to try it. And then I get there and I'm like, that wasn't quite the experience I was expecting to have, or vice versa. I'm I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to try it. I try it. And I'm like, wow, I was blown away. It's because the branding isn't done in a way that sets my expectations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been a fascinating conversation, Liana. And, are there like kind of three tips you would like to leave our listeners to? I mean, in terms of what can be done, I mean, in their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So in your business, um, I would say create, everyone talks about avatars, right? But actually put names and faces to those people that you want to sell to. It makes it so much easier to tell a story to that person when in your mind you have someone that you're looking at face to
Mhm.
face. If you're my target audience and that's who I have in my mind, my conversation with you is going to be much different than, say, maybe a 24-year-old new mom, right? Those conversations are going to be completely different. They might both be my target market, but the first is put names and faces in your mind to each one of your avatars. It helps the marketing message become much more clear. The second, we talked about, don't be afraid to fail. Fail fast, right? If you have an idea, try it. If it's not a good idea, you're going to learn quickly. You can move on to the next. And then third, the story that's most important to tell is what's the one or two things that make you different from everybody else in your field, right? We're all individuals, which means we all have our own special gifts, which in its entirety makes us different, right? Figure out how to tell that story, and you're going to attract the clientele that you are wanting and that you've been dreaming to work with. It's in those slight differences that's going to resonate with someone, that's going to pull those people in. If you try and advertise to the masses, it's really not a great fit, right? So
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And Liana, when people want to contact you, what's the best way?
yeah, absolutely. So all of our social media handles are at DeBellevue Consulting. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, all of the grams you can find us on. But the best way to have a conversation with me is directly on our website. Our
Okay.
team funnels all those directly to me. So
Mhm.
it's actually me that interacts with people. So DeBellevueConsulting.com. And that would probably be the fastest and most effective way.
Okay. And all these details will be as well in the footing of the episode. So thank you so much for your time. It's been such a pleasure to have you with us and to inspire all these entrepreneurs who don't know, who are afraid of trying things, that, go for it and try and do things, and you will see beautiful life unfolding. And thank you for our listeners to being with us now. And I hope you got some ideas there from this conversation. And remember that in life, it's never too late to try something new, different. Surround yourself with the right people. Just go for it, because the most difficult thing is at the end of our lives, if we it's not what to realize what we failed. No, it's really if we had dreams, we wanted to do things and we've not done it. This is really wow. So just take action now and see your life changing. So thank you again, everybody, and see you at the next episode.